What's up, guys? I am Chef Robbie Jester, and this is the Beyond the Bite podcast. So this podcast is being created by me. I've wanted to do it for a while, to be honest with you. I was too fat and too lazy to do it for the longest time, but it seems like now's the right time to do it. So I want to be here and I want to offer this up as a way of, one, just kind of cataloging everything that I'm doing, everything that I'm going through, but also my way of giving back, because the idea of Beyond the Bite is that there's so much more to food and hospitality and restaurants than just the food. And I think that podcasts are out there, and we have chefy podcasts, we have marketing and techie podcasts, but there's really nothing in between, and most of them focus on one of those two things. So I really think it's important for us to see sort of all of the different sides of restaurants and not just glorifying maybe the pirate-ish world of kitchens where, there's some questionable activities that go on after hours, a lifestyle that is difficult to maintain, and the idea that in food and hospitality, this isn't a big boy or big girl job, but that it's just something transient that you're doing until you find that job. I just think that there's so much more to offer in this business, but we have to be honest about what our business was like, what it's currently like, and what we want it to be like in the future so it attracts better people. So who am I? I'm Chef Robbie Jester. I am the owner of Ingest Events and Catering, Pizzeria Mariana, and some future projects that we're working on right now, this podcast being one of them. But the idea behind this is that this will be a transparent look at what I'm going through currently as we build things, because I feel like tons of people wait till the end because they want to wait till they're an authority on things. I don't believe that I'm an authority on pretty much anything, but I want this to be a cataloging of the process as well as, informational for everybody, for where I've been, the mistakes that I've made, the things that we've gone through, and the guests that we have on in the future, the mistakes that they've made and their perspective on the business and how it needs to be different. I grew up in a restaurant family. I'm from the beautiful state of Maryland, but I've always had one foot in Delaware. So growing up, my parents had a sports bar in Newark, Delaware called the Village Pub in Primetime. It was my favorite place. I loved being there. I didn't know that my best friends were drunks. They were just there every day at 4:30 when they got off work. So I just enjoyed that environment. I enjoyed being in it, going back and forth between the kitchen and the front, playing pool and all that stuff. And to this day, some of my oldest, greatest friends are people that I met in my parents' sports bar. It also was my first entry into the working world. So I used to clean, mop floors, clean bathrooms, take out the trash with my grandfather on the weekends in the summertime. And he would pay me with a roll of quarters. And I would take that roll of quarters. I would spend all of it in the crane machine at the restaurant. And then he would go back in, unbeknownst to me, and rewrap the same $10 worth of quarters. And he paid me 2-3 whole summers on the same roll of quarters because I just kept spending it. So, I learned a lot in that. When I was 12 years old, my parents took over a seafood restaurant in Maryland called the Harbor House. Once they did that, I started working in the kitchen. I started washing dishes. I started making soup, salads, and desserts. And then at 14 years old, I started working on the line, cooking. And then 15 years old, I actually was basically running that line along with my mother. My dad took over another restaurant, one marina over. And I was running that line with my 15 and 16-year-old friends. Shout out to, Ben, Eric, Craig, if any of you guys watch this. But basically, we were doing hundreds of covers, and we were all 16 years old or under. And cooking in that environment was very different. And I think that my exposure into this business is a lot different than a lot of chefs, being that I fell in love with the process, the logistics, the machine that is a kitchen and a restaurant before I fell in love with food. Food is definitely something that I'm still falling in love with. I'm still recognizing, but my path into the business was just, hey, we have a job to do. This is how we do it. And it was very much okay, how prepared can we be without sacrificing the quality of the product? And how methodical can we be about our ticket times, our motions, where things were positioned in the kitchen so that it was fewer steps, fewer movements, and just an economy and efficiency that I learned at a very young age that has served me super well growing up. So working in that restaurant, I really learned a ton about being fast, being efficient, not wasting movements. And I would have conversations with my dad about that, about doing something even if it's wrong, always having something on your plate to do, always having a task at hand in the kitchen, and not wasting any time. So really we filled any idle time with productive things, which taught me hard work. It also taught me that my dad was a super hard boss to have. I think a lot of people relate to that when having tough parents, or anybody that works in a family business can really see that, there is dad the dad, and there is dad the boss. And dad the boss was difficult. Anybody that knows my dad or works for my dad knows that he was a difficult personality to work for. He expected a lot. He relentlessly sought more out of you, even if he wasn't willing to pay for it or you didn't have it in you that day. Didn't really care. There was a job to be done and the guest was going to be served, and he was going to get out of you what he needed to get out of you. So what I learned from that experience working with him over the years is, one, I have a problem with authority, but two, that it's just sometimes the best lesson that you can learn from anyone that leads you or any boss that you have is going to be some habits that you don't want to know. As great as he made me, as fast as he made me, as hardworking as he made me in the same respect, I saw some of his habits and the way that he behaved in the restaurant, and I knew that that's not how I wanted to be. That's not the type of chef that I wanted to be. It's not the type of leader or man that I wanted to be. And not to say that he was a bad example. He was a great example. He loved me very much. He had a hard time expressing it, at least to me anyway. And he had a hard time getting things out of people and leading people without fear. And I think that that's a testament to the business and the way that it existed in the past with food and hospitality. It was very much intimidation, very much fear-driven leadership, and that worked for a really long time, but it doesn't work anymore. And it can't work anymore that way. And in order to attract more people to this business, we have to shake the stigma that this business is that you're going to be abused, you're going to be overworked, you're going to be underappreciated, you're going to be undervalued, and you're going to do it for pennies. And that is kind of my personal mission. Why I'm starting this podcast is I think that this is a beautiful business. It's been great to me. And I have such a sense of gratitude for the life that I've had in this business, the opportunities and experiences that it's provided for me. And I think that those experiences, I'm not special. I've been on TV a bunch of times. It's not like this is a face for radio. This is not a face for TV. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And the things that I've done to get there and to have those opportunities have been stuff that's available to everybody. We just, for whatever reason, as chefs and restaurant people, we don't talk about the things that it takes to get to that level. We talk about food and hospitality and these beautiful moments that we create for people. And at the end of the day, I think that's what this business is we are creating memories for people, long-lasting memories. They might be queued up in the future by something that you smell that's familiar, or the style of plateware that's there, or just the atmosphere of a restaurant or a place that brings you back to this beautiful taste that you had, this beautiful experience that you had in hospitality. We create memories. That's what we do. And I think if you lock into that as your mission, as your focus in this business, that you really can create a beautiful life for yourself if you make it about the guest and about the experience and about how you can offer a different experience than other places. You really have the opportunity to build a beautiful career in food and hospitality. And also, there's a million ways to do it now. And that's kind of like the state of our business, the state of food and hospitality now, is that the barrier to entry has never been smaller than it is right now. You can start making biscuits in your dorm room if you have an oven. and selling them to your friends, and then building a website, which you can build on your own because there's so many beautiful technological products out there. And then you create e-commerce, and then all of a sudden you move into a commercial kitchen. You start selling wholesale to restaurants. You start selling, take and bake biscuits to people at home. And I'm just using biscuits because I'm actually super awful at biscuits. So if you got a biscuit business and you wanna serve somebody, you can definitely serve me. But the barrier to entry in food and hospitality is so much smaller than it's ever been. With the advent of Airbnb and concepts like that, you can get into lodging at a much lower rate. You can get into hospitality. And if you look at like Airbnb and sites like that, the people that are the best at what they do get the lion's share of the business. And that's a core tenet of mine, is that no matter what price point you are, no matter where you are, there's always going to be room for the best at the top. So if you find a way to continuously improve and step forward and gauge yourself, and you self-reflect on your experience and what you offer versus what other people are offering, don't get down on yourself. We're all at different spots, but if you self-reflect and you can use that as continual fuel to be better, to improve, and to move forward, you will inch your way up towards the best. And that's where you learn to really create a beautiful life for yourself. And that low barrier to entry now, whether it's food carts or food trucks or food businesses and food artisans and farmers markets with stalls, there are so many ways that you can serve food and offer hospitality to people in 2024 that you don't have to buy $1.5 million restaurant. You don't have to have these backers with all this money. You can start with a very unique, very funneled and focused concept and grow that out and add products and add things to it. But you could start very small. And one of the things that I hope to do is to showcase all the different ways that you can start small and be different. Because again, it's not just about the biscuit, it's about everything else that goes around the biscuit, because that's how we create a life for ourselves. That's how we create memories for our children and things like that. So I hope to really bring that to light in this. And I think it's a beautiful time to be in food and hospitality. But again, we have to see where we were, where we are, and where we need to go. I think that because we have that stigma in food and hospitality as being super difficult and hard to work for and long hours or whatever, I think that we don't do a good enough job of accentuating the beautiful parts to the business, which is flexibility of schedule. Maybe you have kids. Maybe working during the day is not a thing for you because you can't afford healthcare. Maybe working at night is not a thing for you because you have to watch the kids at night. There's day jobs available, night jobs available. There's 4-day-a-week jobs. There's 2-day-a-week jobs. There's work from home jobs in marketing and sales and technology. There's just so many avenues to do this business that it's a viable career. And one of the things that this business has that no other business, very few other businesses have, is the ability to impact somebody in an instant. So you serve someone a beautiful plate of food. You serve someone a beautiful plate of food, and you can see their reaction, and it can change their day like that. You can change their mood, the atmosphere of the table by just serving them something beautifully, or smiling and offering them a compliment, or handing someone a takeout bag with their name and a thank you written on it. Just those small things and small gestures can change the course of someone's entire day, which then has a ripple across their entire community the rest of the day, the rest of the week, or the rest of the month, and who knows, maybe the rest of their life, just by being hospitable, nice, genuine, and grateful for the opportunity to serve. So, that brings me to my personal mission, which is driving people back to this business, realizing that it is a viable full-time career, and creating the most fulfilling hospitality company and hospitality business that is out there. And I think that fulfillment in this business both has to do with the mission of serving the guests, creating memories, thoughtful food, and just delicious, craveable bites, but also how we attract people to this business, how we incentivize people in this business, how we make them a part of the businesses. Because I've been in plenty of environments throughout my career where I felt like I wasn't valued, or I felt like I was stagnating or whatever. And I don't blame it on my leadership at the time, but they just didn't have a gauge for where I was, and they didn't have the bandwidth to motivate me in a different way, or to maybe extract more from me in a way that provided value for them. And I've always tried to provide more value, but that doesn't necessarily always get seen in the day-to-day of operating a business. And we have family, and we have bills, and we have, problems and things that happen. And it's easy to get lost in just going through the motions every single day. But I think as a food business person, hospitality guy, I know that you have to be intentional, and you have to focus on the task at hand, and you have to worry, think, and provide for people. At the end of the day, it's about cultivating positive and fun relationships in our back of the house, front of the house, in our restaurants, because those positive and fun relationships and those positive, fun interactions then lead to positive and fun interactions for our guests, our clients, whether it's our private chef services, catering, just restaurants in general. But if you have happy people, and this is not a new concept, but if you have happy people working on your team, you tend to have happy guests. And happy people working on your team doesn't mean that you're a fucking pushover, or that you let them do whatever, or that you don't have high standards. Having happy, fulfilled people on your team, to me, means that you are paying attention to what drives them. You're having honest conversations with them about what they want to do, what they want their future to look like. You check in regularly to see how they're feeling. You actually give a flying fuck about their lives outside of work and inside of work. And from there, you help that person grow in a way that is selfless, and not just how can I help them grow so that it serves me and my business, but how can I help them grow? Period. End of sentence. And if that growth means that eventually they move on and go to somebody else, then that's the breaks. That's the best experience for them. That's the best thing that they need for their future. And you have to embrace that as a good, decent human. If you have done the work to train someone, to make them awesome, to help fulfill their lives, and they get to a point where they take a look at your picture and they say, you know what? I've got dreams that are bigger than can fit in this box, or I have dreams that are outside of what the scope of this box, then you need to give them a hug, push them out into the world, and say, hey, go do your thing. I embrace it. I'm happy for you. I am so sad to see you go, because you're so important to our team. But if that person is the person that you think that they are, and they are that vital, then they've already left their mark on your company. They've left ripples in your company, and the people that are there in that memory will help to grow them. It is your job as a professional in any business, as a leader in any business, to make it worthwhile for your team to want to stay and work for you. It is not their responsibility to be loyal to you to a fault for the rest of their lives and never progress, because if they're not growing, they're dying. And so many leaders think that it is okay to have somebody in their company that just does the same job over and over and over again. You never move them up because you don't want to invest in training. You never want to move them out to another location or another job, because that doesn't benefit you either. And then all of a sudden you look at this terrible, sad person, and you get mad at them because they left you. No, you didn't give a shit about them, and that's why they left. People don't leave businesses, they leave leaders, which isn't a new concept. I didn't come up with it, but it sure as shit is the truth. And if we want to continue to grow, we're at a turning point in this business. I think we're starting to recognize in food and hospitality that we have to be different in order to attract different people, in order to attract enough people. The incentives have to be there. They can't be soulless incentives, and they can't just be monetary, because people in 2024 want fulfillment. They want to belong to a team, and they want to feel like they're driving a larger goal forward. It is our job as leaders in food and hospitality to provide that goal to move towards. And it's my job. I look at it like this. Like, I could, in the current state of things, I could just be a private chef for the rest of my career. I could make multiple six figures being a private chef, going from home to home, cooking dinners for people, and have a very nice life for me and my family. But there's a team of people that got me to this point. There is a whole community of restaurant people, food and hospitality people, and just business professionals in general that have led me to the point to be able to have this confidence and to be able to do this, that I feel like it is my duty now to create dreams that are big enough that all of my team members' dreams can fit inside of them. And that means a gigantic mission of making this business a different place for people to work, live, and grow. That is my goal, to drive people back to a business that has done so much for me, that has forgiven me over and over and over again for the failures that I've had, and for whatever reason has embraced me to move forward and embrace so many people that I love that work around me, that are on my team, and different people throughout my life that have been mentors and motivation. This business has so much to give. At the heart of it, it is about giving. And I think that we need to get back to that idea that this business is about giving, that food and hospitality is about so much more than just the taste of that bite on the end of that fork, but it's about all of the people that bring the food to you, that serve you, that clean restaurant. It's about everybody, and we have to make it a space where their dreams can all fit inside this. I think that that is basically the core of it all, is that food and hospitality in previous years and iterations has been a box, and the box was big enough for the owner's dream, and as long as everyone else wanted to not be an owner and not work those hours and not advance and not make more money, then they could fit within that box. But that's not going to move us forward. We have to understand, that owners, that the best thing we can do is raise someone into our business and lift someone up that then wants to own. And I think that we're going to get there through thoughtful interactions, thoughtful, intentional growth, beautiful food, and memorable experiences. And if we lean on the technology that we've been given, and we lean on our hearts and what we would have wanted coming up in the business, and what we want to see in the business, and how we wish it would have been different, I think if we lean into that, we really have a shot at making this a thing that people enjoy and love again, and it's admired to be a part of food and hospitality. Because a life of service, at some point in our life, because of the YouTube millionaires of the world, and I can be a millionaire and sit in my basement and make videos and stuff like that, which is ironic because I'm making a video. It's not a basement, but you get the point. I think that, the idea is that you need to serve other people, and you need to find a way to do it that fulfills you, and give. If you give without expectation, you will receive without limit. And that is just the core of life, and forgiveness and grace and gratitude go a long way at just building a better life. And this is me. This is the core of who I am. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about in this podcast is going to seem like I'm making points, or I'm pointing them out there towards you. But really, in all reality, these are reminders to me of the man that I want to be, the leader that I want to be, and the type of business that I want to run. So we're going to do this together over the course of this podcast. And as it grows, you're going to see I'm not always going to be sitting down. Sometimes we're going to be walking around the kitchen or working on new projects. I actually think the next episode or two, we're going to see a new project that I'm working on in the space that I'm doing that in. And you'll see it transform from what it is, which is a dirty shell, to something that we can grow in and thrive in. But we'll have certainly have guests on in the future. We'll have other concepts that we're working towards in the future. And please like, subscribe, share, leave comments. Let us know in the comments what you want to see in the future. Any questions that you might have, we will get to them all. We will answer them all. Maybe we have some discussions about the TV stuff that I've done, how you can be better and be more available for those opportunities in the future. But I look forward to this. Thank you very much for watching. If you watch it to the end, I love you very much. Please go make some great food, enjoy some great people, and live a great life.